Yo, 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 yo. What's up? It's a Tuesday night Humpverse edition of the Earlverse. Now, this is going to be a wide ranging Earlverse. We're going to go through the results of AEW Dynasty and give my thoughts on certain things I said should happen that did happen. Thank you very much. And you guys know me. I'm a lot of things, but I ain't no liar. And I said weeks ago that if AEW is smart, they would have Jungle Boy Jack Perry, the scapegoat, cost FTR the match. And that would make perfect sense in terms of storyline. And that storyline being that CM Punk and Jack Perry have beef. CM Punk starts a fight with Jack Perry at All in London. He gets fired from the company. And Jack Perry, seeking revenge on CM Punk, cost Punk's best friends in AEW, FTR, the tag belts. It literally makes 100% sense. And that's exactly what happened. So I don't know if that means AEW is listening to me. I'm going to think that they are not. But who knows? So the card started off. By the way, we could talk NHL hockey. Good evening, Chris Mack and Drunken Donuts. Nick as well. Gina Babina, a rare appearance from my other moderator, Gina Babina. Welcome. With Jay White in a trios match with the Guns and taking on Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed. Jay White won, or I should say Jay White and the Guns won. Crazy to me that you would have Jay White wrestling basically off the main event pay-per-view card. I mean, that's something where you look at AEW and go, okay, they need help writing because Jay White's a star. And nothing against the Guns, nothing against the Acclaimed or Billy Gunn. I would have been fine with Billy Gunn against Jay White on the main card. Bump the Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly match to 0 hour. But, you know, I'm just a streamer with 7 people. I don't think AEW is threatened or takes my views very seriously. By the way, hit the like button if you have not done so already. So the first match on the main card, there was, I think, one other match before the Guns and Jay White and the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. I'm forgetting what it was. It was a warm-up match. If anyone knows, let me know. Yes, NFL draft this weekend. You guys know me. I'm a Steeler fan, so Steelers will be a will be very interesting to see what they do. I'm watching the Ranger game right now. Of course, we can always talk NHL playoffs. My LA Kings did not have a good night last night. We can talk about that. Rangers and Capitals tied 1-1 right now. Matt Rempe almost put someone into the parking lot. Thank God the guy moved at the last second. The kid can play, actually. He's not horrible. Of course, interesting to me is the Capitals have former number one, not number one, but first round pick Dylan McIlrath on defense. He's kind of had a very interesting career. He played in the KHL, the AHL, never really popped on the Rangers. I think he's in the lineup just in case Rempe gets out of hand. I mean, Billy Gunn looks amazing, to be honest with you. I'm 55. He's maybe he's got to be close to 60. And in person, I met him at the Ric Flair roast. He's pretty big. Like, he's probably a couple inches taller than me. I'm 6'2", maybe. And my God, he's got to be 250 and jacked. The Road Dogg Jesse James does not look as good as Billy Gunn. I don't know what he's doing, but I can tell you what he isn't doing, and that's whatever Billy Gunn's doing. Kazuchika Okada defeated Pac in the AEW Continental Championship. Very good match. Pac can wrestle. I've met him at a comedy show, and he is every bit as muscular as you can imagine. Very good opening match. Both guys can wrestle. So I had fun. It was fun. It was a good way to start off the card. You know, Okada's one of their top free agent signings. Pac is a longtime AEW man. They don't seem to have a lot for him ever, but he hung in there with Okada. So a good opening match. The next match was the House of Black going up against Eddie Kingston, Adam Copeland, and Mark Briscoe. I didn't really care for this. I love House of Black. They're criminally underused, but it just seemed like this match was just kind of thrown together to give all 6 of these guys something to do. There wasn't really a lot of build-up. And one of the biggest problems, what up, William Zoom? But one of the biggest problems with AEW is they have a lot of matches on their cards that me personally, what up, Luna Shtick? I just don't care who wins or loses. It's just almost like time fillers. So, by the way, hit the like button, guys. You know, and then we had. So, I mean, it was a good match. You know, I love all 6 of these guys as workers. So, but once again, I just didn't care who won. I mean, I was rooting for House of Black. It kind of seems like they need to get Adam Copeland a new person to feud with, in my opinion. Like they busted their Edge and Christian, nut, so to speak. So they seem to kind of have Adam Copeland in like a no man's land right now. I mean, I'd love to see him and Malachi Black. That they could have a good match. And someone who wouldn't be too hard for Adam Copeland to be in the ring with physically. I mean, I think Brody King is just too big for him. Like even doing any basic, like a suplex move with Brody King, Adam Copeland could get hurt. So, and Buddy Matthews is he's a pretty big guy himself. I wouldn't mind seeing Buddy Matthews against Kenny Omega when Kenny Omega gets better. So up next was Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart. Kind of surprising that Julia Hart would do the job here. Nothing against Willow Nightingale. I was at the match in Long Beach a year ago when Willow Nightingale beat Mercedes Moné, but I don't know if that was the planned finish because Mercedes Moné broke her ankle in that match legit. So, but to me, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Julia Hart's ready for Mercedes Moné, but I'm a little surprised that they had her lose to Willow, but it to a degree makes sense because Willow and Mercedes Moné have history. Um, so it's one of those things that on paper it makes sense, but I don't know. If you don't watch, the New York Rangers just scored, I believe, Amika Zibanejad. They're all hugging him. Yes, he's leading the line back to the bench. What a transaction that was to get him for who was it, Brassard a couple years ago from Ottawa. Jesus, that's a pretty good trade. Um, but out came Mercedes Moné. I'm glad she wasn't on the mic. They've kind of botched her. I think it was a big deal to get her. I mean, she is arguably the top in-ring performer of the women, but she stumbled a little bit on the mic. So I'm glad we will get to see. I'm assuming it's her in-ring debut in Vegas. I think it's Full Gear. I think at the end of May, which ironically enough, I will be in Vegas 2 days after Full Gear. I'm not going to watch the pay-per-view because there's no way I could stay in Vegas. I don't know why it's cutting out, Gina. But I'm not going to touch anything. So if the audio's bad, you're just going to have to deal with it. Because I don't like fixing things in broadcast because something always gets fucked up. So we'll see. I mean, we got Willow Nightingale against Mercedes Moné. They have chemistry. I remember the match was good until the broken ankle. So, sorry about that, Nick. Sorry about that. I won't comment then when a team scores or not. And then the next match was something I thought could have been on the 0 hour. Roderick Strong defeats Kyle O'Reilly. Good match, actually. It was better than I thought. I still think that this should have been on 0 hour and Jay White on the big hour. But, such is life. Hit the like button. All good, Gina Babina. All good. Every time I try and fix a sound issue during the stream ends up ending. But I appreciate the feedback. Yeah, I mean, it was a nice goal. I believe a penalty right now is being called on the Capitals. TJ Oshie going to the box. But it was a good match. I mean, the crowd was a little dead for it, but they got going toward the end. And I like Roderick Strong. All good, ACDC. It's probably good you're late, ACDC, because we're going over the results of AEW Dynasty. And I believe, if my 55-year-old memory serves me, you are not a gigantic wrestling fan. So all good. Hit the like button. 17 people in here. We got 6 likes. Come on, man. I don't ask for much from you guys. Get it together. We're all in this stream right now. And you'll have to listen to some Dabbleverse bullshit. Up next is Chris Jericho defeats Hook. You know me. I'm a friend of Jericho's. I don't know if I would have had Hook lose, to be honest with you. And Jericho is very giving. He puts guys over. Like, he put Action Andretti over, about a year ago. People still talk about that. But I would have had Hook hold on to it. They need to, because now what do you do with Hook? Do you have him get the belt back from Jericho? Maybe. I don't know. But it's a good match. The crowd wasn't dead, but, listen, these pay-per-views are, I've been to the, Full Gear last year at the Forum. They're long. If you go there for the 0 hour matches, I think in my 0 hour match, I think it was Dax Harwood and Jay Lethal, and there was another match. And then the main card, it's a 4 to 5 hour event. So the crowd's going to be tired at some point or just not into a certain match. And it's got nothing to do with the people wrestling. It's just, in a 5-hour pay-per-view, you got to pick your spots. Um, the Michael Jackson character, Santana Jackson, GCW, I saw. He's one of my favorites to watch. And as a bonus, he was wrestling my friend, the Human Tornado, who, when he came to the ring, gave me a hug. So you have too many exes watching. I don't know if I do. I would assume one might be watching under an assumed name, but maybe not. I don't know. Yes, Tuesday night, Earlverse in the house. We're gonna go to 5:30 my time because I have to go to yoga. So we'll be at 4. It's 4:45 right now. So we got 45 minutes, baby dolls, to talk about hockey or pro wrestling or anything else you want. The next match, Tony Storm defeated Thunder Rosa. Um, Crowd was a little dead for this one, and I'm not saying it because they were women, but good match though. I mean, when it first started out, I was like, I might fast forward to this one, but I watched the whole card. I like to give an honest review, and so. It was a good match. I mean, it wasn't great. I do think it was the perfect match to put right before Osprey and Danielson because you knew that was going to be a banger. And so, I don't. I thought the women's match was the perfect match to put on right before that because the crowd wasn't completely dead for Storm and Thunder Rosa, but it wasn't exactly booming either. And so Tony Storm defeats Thunder Rosa, retaining her AEW Women's World Championship. And then the banger of the night, uh, maybe match of the year, and maybe Will Ospreay's best match in America. Him and Bryan Danielson. I mean, I'm not trying to rip off Meltzer's 5-star ratings, but this was a 5 out of 5, man. 6 out of 5. I mean, just Will Ospreay did moves I've never seen before. And that's, I've watched thousands of hours of wrestling. Yeah. So did your love of yoga come out of your love for the gang bangs, Dr. Nova, gang bangs? So, I mean, Osprey is he's in the prime, this is like special to see, in 5, 6 years when Osprey is still wrestling, but he's not quite as fast or nimble. We're going to go, man, we were lucky to see him in his prime. And Danielson's great. He had some great moves as well. They played well off of each other. Danielson had a great match with Zack Sabre within the last year. I mean, Danielson's a great guy to have a great match with. I mean, this match was special. I don't think I met your girlfriend, William Zoom. But, I am the only straight guy in my yoga class, so I do quite well with the ladies. Who is on your wrestling Mount Rushmore? Well, that's a tricky question, Trailer Park, because it's one of those things where you look at when you say the top 4 wrestlers of all time, what is your reasoning? Is it the top 4 famous wrestlers? You'd have to go arguably Hogan, Austin, The Rock, and Ric Flair in terms of the most known. If you're going the best technical wrestlers, which, probably most people aren't, you don't watch pro wrestling for the technical moves, but, you'd have to go, I mean, technical wrestlers, Osprey, um, Bryan Danielson. I'm not saying that because they just had a match, but, and then if you're including New Japan guys, I mean, I'd lean more towards more modern guys. I'd say Osprey, Omega, Okada, and you'd probably have to throw in a WWE guy, which I'm not very familiar with their current product, but Um, Bret Hart. I mean, Benoit's up there for sure. I mean, listen, it's like O.J. Simpson is one of the greatest running backs of all time. He's also one of the greatest double murderers of all time. Now, if you then you could break it down to. I mean, this is a question, Chris, where there's no wrong answer. I mean, Kurt Angle was a legit Olympic wrestler. Bad News Brown. I'm not saying he was a great technical wrestler, but he was a legit judo champion, I think, in the 76 Olympics. Um, so, that's a tough one to kind of, and then you could go top four heels. You could go, Rick Rude, Hollywood Hogan, um, Abdullah the Butcher, and then, you know, Roman Reigns, uh, and then there's so many different categories for the top all-time wrestlers. Um, top middleweight. I mean, is it fair to say? I mean, Dean Malenko was a great technical wrestler. So it's a tough. It's almost like saying who are the greatest guitar players of all time. There's really no wrong answer. And it depends what kind of music you listen to. Like some people would say Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix, but then if you're like a metalhead, you're going to go more towards metal players. If you're like a country guy, you'll go like, Greg Allman over, say, Van Halen. It's the same thing with wrestling. I don't think Shawn Michaels was, if you could um, put God, every wrestler in their prime. I don't think Shawn Michaels could hang with Will Ospreay. But it's different. It's like in 5-10 years, the wrestlers then will be much more advanced than wrestlers now. I mean, so it's tough. Who would win in a real fight between AEW and WWE rosters? Any 5 per roster? I mean, that's like there are some legit bad guys. I mean, Brock Lesnar is a legit college wrestling star. And if we're gonna put in guys who are legit in real life, not Jack Perry, Jack Hager, aka Jack Swagger. He's a legit college wrestling champion. He might not have a great storyline right now in AEW, but that's a guy I wouldn't want to piss off. So in their primes, Ospreay couldn't hang with Vern Gagne. I don't know about that, dude. Yeah, we're gonna get into that match in a second. Young Bucks then defeated FTR, and I thought this was an awesome match. It wasn't the greatest ladder match of all time, no, but it's pretty good. And the ending I thought was amazing. All right, we got the Florida Panthers up 1-0 with 13 minutes and 44 seconds. We're going to go over to that game. Now, I have the volume low so I don't disturb you guys. This is a great series. There's a lot of great series. But I said to my friend Jordan the Lion, I wish he was on right now. I said like 2-3 weeks ago via DM, if AEW is smart, because once you saw the heat Jack Perry got when he came out in Chicago for New Japan with a Crimea River leather jacket and a CM Punk flag, and the crowd hated him, I'm like, he should cost FTR the title. And he did. It was a really well designed storyline, because the releasing of the CM Punk Jack Perry footage was just foreplay, and it was done excellently. Now the key is in this storyline now, okay, Jack Perry has cost FTR the belts. How do you follow it up? So they get an A+ for that storyline. There's not one thing I would do differently. Now, what do you do on Dynamite? Do you bring Jack Perry out? Does he cut a heel promo? Does FTR come out and say, hey, you pick any one as a tag partner. We want you either tonight or next week on Dynamite. And then I think Okada comes out, because you can't have one of the Bucks because they're already a team. And then you have the formation of a new heel faction. The Bucks, and say what you want about the Bucks being EVPs, but people boo when they come out. They are very good at the cocky, like almost Rick Rude style heel. Um, and you've got Okada, who's like almost like an Asian Ric Flair, which is smart because there's a lot of things you can do portraying him as an Asian Ric Flair where he doesn't have to talk on the mic a lot. He can just be that cocky, well-dressed heel. And then Jack Perry. That's a great faction because there are some good factions in AEW. And, there's the Don Callis family. And I think if they're smart, they would get Will Ospreay out of the Don Callis family. They would have the Don Callis family turn on Ospreay. And then he gets back with United Empire. Now, I don't know, that would be Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis. I don't know if Mark Davis is still hurt. So, but if he's not, or if he's going to be back anytime soon, I would reform United Empire. I mean, they never really broke up. That's why I thought they kind of fumbled the ball putting Ospreay with the Callis family. Didn't really make a lot of sense. Because with United Empire, until Mark Davis gets better, you could just bring in Jeff Cobb from New Japan, who is United Empire over there. You'd have to explain that to the American audience. But think about if that happens, you'd have the Don Callis family, the new heel faction. You'd have House of Black, United Empire. I don't really put the Guns and Jay White as a mammoth faction, but that's a faction. You've got the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed could be like the Job Squad. I mean, they're just not as over as they used to be because they're a little stale. The raps and whatnot aren't nearly as over as they used to be. So I thought the Young Bucks and FTR, the execution was very good. And then you have Swerve Strickland defeats Samoa Joe. I think he would be the first black heavyweight champion in AEW. So that's good publicity, to be honest with you. And it was a very good match. I mean, this was a long card. I probably, off the main event card, I probably would have put Strong and O'Reilly and Jericho and Hook on 0 Hour and bumped up to Jay White. I wouldn't have put Jay White in a trios match. I would have had him wrestle someone. But Swerve and Samoa Joe, they're two pros, man. I mean, Samoa Joe's been there and done that for 20 plus years, and Swerve is now. So I do think that this was a very good pay-per-view. Not perfect. I'll give it a very, very strong B+. I'm curious to see where some of the storylines go now. What happens with Jericho and Hook, they rematch or whatnot. I mean, they gonna see the reason why, Jericho's Jericho. He doesn't need to win or lose at this point. But you've kind of built up Hook, and now you got to kind of rehab him after this loss, in my opinion. So it's going to be interesting how they follow that up. What do you do with Kingston, Adam Copeland, and Briscoe? I mean, that had the vibe of a, one-time trios team. So does anything more happen with Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong and the Kingdom? Who's Ospreay's next opponent? I mean, I think it's too soon to take the belt off of Swerve. He just won it. And I would guess that they're going to build towards Ospreay winning the title in London. I'd be down with the Swerve Ospreay match. But what are you going to do in the meantime with Ospreay? I mean, he's kind of on hold in terms of, we can't give him the belt yet. Swerve just won it. So hopefully they build towards. I mean, that's what I would do. I would have Swerve and Ospreay and all in London, and Ospreay wins, and then they can go on a nice little program, So, I mean, who knows with Hook? It's. I mean, I think, I mean, AEW's done a good job kind of building them, but like I don't know at this point why you would have them lose to Jericho. Like I love Jericho too, and we talk a little bit on DMs, not a lot, but a little. I just, Jericho's in that point now where he's kind of like Triple H was toward the end of his wrestling career. Like he doesn't need to win or lose. He's still Chris Jericho, but Hook is in arguably the beginning of the prime of his career. So I would not have had him lose. Um, well, I don't think that's Swerve's problem though. And I would say in terms of uh, low ratings can be fixed really easily. It's not that hard. You just have to have compelling storylines. I mean, look, I don't watch WWE, but I know about the Bloodline because it's a very well written storyline. There's lots of moving parts. Of course, it helps that they can bring The Rock in. AEW's problem with ratings is really quite simply they've peaked at the OG AEW fan base. They now have to find a way to get WWE eyes on the product. Um, so, that's why, like, I would have had Ziggler be the devil. Now, maybe they tried. Maybe Ziggler, aka Nick Nemeth, maybe he wanted too much money. Maybe AEW was being cheap. Uh, but that would have gotten, look at the publicity Nemeth going to TNA has done them. I mean, TNA's been trending a few times. So, that would have happened in AEW because, WWE fans are like, I want to see, I mean, they'll call him Dolph Ziggler. I want to see what Dolph's doing in TNA. Um, so, uh, that's the key right now with WWE and AEW. AEW fans watch WWE because they're interested in the storylines. You've got to um, find a way if you're AEW to go, how do we get people to watch Monday Night Raw to watch Dynamite? And there are ways, and in some ways are easier than none, or easier than some. You could bring in Nemeth, you could bring in Mustafa Ali, you could bring in Riddle, um, or to people who I don't want to see more WWE guys coming in. They got enough wrestlers on the roster. Then give Miro a good program because he'll always be considered a WWE guy. Miro's not even he's not even anywhere near AEW's TV time. Like that's crazy to me. Um, well, I did think that listen, I think AEW has the superior roster. I mean, if you and MJF's coming back soon at some point. Now, I'll guess that at the May, was it Full Gear? I think it is in May. MJF will come not necessarily to wrestle because they probably want to, save him for London. Uh, but he'll come back, and maybe you have maybe Okada and MJF. Of course, you got to come up with a good storyline for why they're wrestling, but I do think that if you look at their roster of top guys, it's on par with WWE. You got MJF coming back. You got Ospreay in his prime. Omega's hopefully coming back at some point. I mean, he's pretty fucked up from the diverticulitis. I mean, that's no joke. It took Lesnar down, so it's probably going to take a smaller guy like Omega down. Um, so you've got Jay White. Swerve Strickland is a great champion. You've got Samoa Joe is still. I mean, Samoa Joe lends credibility to your champion, and you've got a lot of good main event guys. There's not really too many more guys you could bring in outside of Nemeth. I don't know if Riddle or Mustafa Ali would move the needle, but they would get WWE eyes on the product. I mean, Powerhouse Hobbs is, I think, a hidden talent there. He hung in there with Ospreay in a very good match. Takeshita's, a rising star. I mean, Wardlow, if they can ever figure something out for him and stick with it, I mean, yeah, Jinder Mahal is, I don't like someone like him. He might get WWE eyes on the prize for one episode, but he's a good heel. But they've got so many wrestlers. I don't know if I would bring in a guy like Jinder Mahal. I mean, there's a reason WWE let him go. Um, so, I mean, MJF, Dolph K, I believe you are a new listener to the stream. I don't recognize your name, so welcome. Hit the like button, Dolph, if you can. We do our streams here in the Earlverse. So it's 5:04. We got 26 minutes left. So actually, all of you hit the like button. Um, yeah, I mean, diverticulitis, it's a very, I think they had to take out a bunch of I almost said Dolph Lundgren, uh, Brock Lesnar's intestine. Like, it's no joke. So, a high flyer like Omega, can you imagine any of the moves Ospreay did to Danielson if he did them to Omega with, one wrong shot to your tummy is not going to feel good. Yeah, I do miss Omega, but you can't wrestle the style Omega has the last 10 years. It will catch up to you, which is why I do have concerns about Will Ospreay, because he's essentially the younger version of Omega. It's just so taxing on your body, man. Like, and it's all done for our entertainment. So I kind of feel um, guilty for, like, I mean, I love watching Ospreay wrestle, but man, he that's a grinding style for sure. And you see what that grinding style um, does to your body, via Omega. So hopefully they can get Omega. I don't know if Omega can get ready uh, for All in London. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, Vader wrestled a very young Ospreay. I think if I recall in that match, he wasn't selling for Ospreay very much. But even in that match, you're like, fuck, this kid is special. So hopefully Omega gets better. But even, without Omega, there's still a ton of guys who are capable of filling the void. And um, there's I'm curious to see what they do with Jay White. I mean, he's just so good. And he needs to be a main event player. Of course, they got to rehab him a little bit because he lost to MJF at the match I was at Full Gear at the Forum. So they've kind of been stagnating him in with these 12-man tags and trios matches and stuff like that. So yeah, but I don't think Vader sold for him, if I recall the match. I've only seen it once, in full disclosure, but I recall the vibe in the match was basically Vader going, "I ain't selling for you, kid," while he's doing all this high flying shit. Yeah, I mean, those thumbtacks are real. So, it's not, I mean, I've seen thumbtack matches before live, and they got to be gimmicked a little bit, but every match I've ever seen with thumbtacks, they've ended up sticking in the guy or girl's back. Although I was watching some match, I don't know if it was at GCW. I've watched too much wrestling lately, where they took the thumbtacks and they put it in the guy's mouth. Like, I can't imagine you wouldn't swallow a few, which would be a very painful doo-doo. Um, Big Van Vader's sorely missed. Yeah, he is. A lot of those guys are missed. Rick Rude, Vader, um, you know, and then the ones that are alive are pretty fucked up, to be honest with you. Magnum TA, Lex Luger. Yeah, Vader was awesome in his prime. He was literally a 450-pound dude who could do backflips and, do some pretty high flying stuff for a guy who was 450 pounds. I mean, I've seen some pretty cool um, spots. I mean, nothing necessarily uh, on the level of Foley and Taker. And that reminds me, another great faction is Christian, Luchasaurus, aka Killswitch, and Nick Wayne. So I do think that AEW has a lot of good factions right now. Um, Now, if Omega can come back, what will be interesting is I'm assuming his first match or his first storyline would be going up against the Bucks and Okada because they fired Omega and basically gave Okada Omega's spot. So that could be a well done storyline if they do it right. Um, I mean, I would say the best hardcore match. I mean, I got to be honest with you, and if you don't watch, all right, the Panthers just scored. They're now up 2-0 late in the first period, up 2-0. Throw those rats. Um, but I would say if you want to go legit hardcore match, it's going a little bit off the grid because it's not really two guys you hear talked about a lot, but Mike Awesome against Masada Tanaka. Those guys went fucking hard in the paint. I mean, they gave and took. So look up any ECW match with those guys. Of course, Mike Awesome is one of the top, I think, what if, how was this guy not bigger in the category? Like, I think his problem was he wasn't the best on the mic. I mean, he wasn't horrible on the mic, but that one um, segment in WCW and they botched him horribly uh, when he came and attacked Kevin Nash with his walker, and then he started talking. Ooh, it was a little rough. It was a little rough. He should have just attacked him and walked off, or had a manager talk for him. But on his ECW run, it was like his prime ECW. He was special. Like, I often say Wardlow is like maybe a slightly more athletic or about the same version of Mike Awesome. Yeah, that was brutal when Kiss performed, I believe, on Thunder. Um, yeah, I mean, Trailer Park, absolutely, I agree with you. I mean, they could have turned him into a Goldberg-like character in ECW, and that's what I want with him in WCW. But they really botched him in WCW. The fat chick gimmick, the '70s guys. Like, this guy is a kick-ass hardcore wrestler. Now, maybe his body was breaking down at that point, and they just, he didn't want to do that style anymore. But yeah, you're probably right. I don't imagine too many guys. People think Sid was rough in the ring, and he was. Sid was not the most caring guy when he gave you a power bomb. Um, Nash kind of was. Like, Nash would take care of you on a power bomb. Sid and Mike Awesome would give you an actual power bomb. Now, I remember once talking about it was the big guy, Satnam Singh in AEW. It was at the Ric Flair roast, and I was talking with him or about him to Jay Lethal, because this is when they had just started having Satnam Singh pair with Jay. And Jay, I don't think he would mind me telling this. I asked him, how hard do those power bombs by Satnam Singh hurt? And he's like, the problem with Satnam Singh is he doesn't know his own strength. So, like, he was explaining it to me, like, when you lift someone up for a power bomb, at the very top, you drop them so they fall under their own power and their own pace. Satnam Singh actually doesn't let you go. He gives you a power bomb. and he's fucking 7'4", probably 350 pounds legit. Like, they lie a little bit with certain wrestlers, height and weight, but Saddam Singh is 7. I've seen him in person. He's every bit as tall as they say he is. Yeah, the Demon was just that's WCW. Like, that's when they were bringing in like fucking Tank Abbott and whatnot. Uh, well, I'm sure Taz and RVD were like, "Hey, bro, you know, you ain't throwing me like you do Spike, and definitely not Tanaka." And I think Taz was probably so respected by Mike Awesome. It was like, okay, dude, I'm sure Taz called their matches, and I'm sure RVD did. I mean, Mike Awesome was a very good wrestler. So that's why I see a lot of Wardlow in him. Like when Wardlow did that, so I forget what pay-per-view it was, but it was like a swanton, like a Hardy's swanton bomb off of a really fucking tall ladder. Uh, it was like, wow, this guy's legit. I can't imagine he'd like to play for the Raiders. Like well, I mean, they're not going to do it because they have Russell Wilson and Fields, but like I could imagine Tom Brady wanting to play for Mike Tomlin. But I don't know. I mean, I'm sure Tom Brady's bored and physically he's in great shape. Probably the year off, healed whatever lingering injuries he had. Now he is, what is he, 36, 37 years old? And as a 55-year-old, I can tell you don't recover like you did when you're 25. So, but I think if anyone could come back for one season, uh, it could be Tom Brady. I mean, he's smart enough to. He's a cerebral quarterback at this point of his life. So, if he would come back, I don't really follow the Raiders that much. Brady is not 47. Uh, but I would say if he was going to come back, he would make sure that offensive line in front of him was the best in the league. Now, I don't recall the Raiders' offensive line being that good, which would probably, oh, we got a little scuffle right now. Kachuk talking some shit to Kucherov. Uh, you know, this game could get wild here. These two teams don't like each other. Now, a couple years ago, would have been like the Bloods and the Crips, but good save there by Sergei Bobrovsky. Yeah, I don't see Brady coming back. I mean, you think it matters to him if he has 6 Super Bowls or 7? And I don't think the Raiders are Super Bowl contenders. Now, if the Steelers didn't have Wilson or Fields, I could see him going, with that defense, we're in business. But I also don't think even the Steelers' offensive line isn't that great. So I wouldn't see him wanting to play in front of that. But I mean, he's probably bored, and he probably still can compete. Maybe not at the Tom Brady in the early 30s level, but I mean, hell, he won Tampa Bay a Super Bowl. Was I sad to see Kenny Pickett go? I mean, from what I was hearing, he wasn't exact. Now it's the internet, so you don't really know what's true or not. By the way, we have 12 minutes left to have you guys ask football questions, hockey questions, AEW questions, super chat, gifted memberships. Notice how I haven't asked for money for 48 minutes. Try that in any other else's stream. Having a tip cup. Dingle, 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 dingle. But you can hit the like button. That's free. Let me see how old Tom Brady is. He's not 46 years old. He's not that old. Or maybe he is. I don't know. See, me, I have bad Wi-Fi. Let's see. I got some very good-looking pictures. He is a good-looking guy. 46 years old. Shit. Oh, this Panthers game getting a little snarly now. Uh-oh. When Stamkos is getting involved, it's the real deal. Wow, 46 years old. He was born 1977. I'm 55. That checks out. Yeah, he's not coming back at 46. You would have to have. I can imagine if he if he came back, it would be like that scene in The Longest Yard where Burt Reynolds is like, "I'm just gonna surround myself with the biggest guys possible." Um, so wait a minute. Hold on. J-Man Jack gifting 5 memberships. Thank you, J-Man Jack, a frequent tipper in the Earlverse world. I very much appreciate that. But the people who got free gifted memberships from J-Man Jack, please thank him. I believe we have both my moderators here, Kip Smith and Gina Babina. Yes, everyone shout out J-Man Jack. J-Man, if you got anything to plug in the chat, please do so. So, you know, I just I can't see Tom Brady coming back. I don't know what NFL team has the best offensive line, but I don't know. Um, I don't think. I mean, it's a rumor. Like you could sit there and if Brady does come back, I would see him getting ownership of the team, like 10% or whatever. But 10% ownership of an NFL team is pretty fucking pretty good. Yeah, slap that like button, man. You've got 9 more minutes to slap the shit out of that like button. Um, yeah, the draft is this weekend. The Steelers. It'll be interesting to see what they do. Defensively, they're pretty set. Uh, they've got some offensive. They have a new offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith, ex head coach of the I almost said the Lightning of the Atlanta Falcons. Anything's going to be better than Matt Canada. All right, it's another. Oh no, I thought there was another brawl in the Tampa game. We'll go back to the Ranger game. Matt Canada just it didn't work. So getting back to, I forgot who asked me the question. Was I sad to see Kenny Pickett go? I mean, not really. I mean, he just, from what I understand, he was kind of acting out behind the scenes, and I get that. He's young. He was brought in to be the new Roethlisberger, and in the playoff game, they went with Mason Rudolph over him. And if you believe the rumors, he refused to suit up and be Mason Rudolph's backup. Now, from what I had heard, the Steelers were the Steeler players were very pro Mason Rudolph. So, um, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Steeler team clear house. I don't think I've ever seen a team like what the Steelers did in the offseason. They literally got rid of all 3 of their quarterbacks. They got rid of Trubisky, they got rid of Mason Rudolph, and they got rid of Kenny Pickett. So now you have Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and I'm sure they'll bring in like a third, like a Mason Rudolph type. So I think that's unheard of. It would be like seeing a hockey team get rid of all their goalies, which I have seen. Because that's just 2 guys. But so the Steelers, draft wise, they're probably looking for a offensive lineman. There's rumors that Dan Moore might not be with the team, and if he is, he's going to be a backup. We got a breakaway here, saved by Shesterkin. And with the trading of Deontay Johnson, you now need a number 2 guy behind Pickens, because right now, the great thing about having Deontay Johnson was, you had a nice number 2 option. All right, we got a little brawl here in the Ranger Capital game. Oshie comes in. He's kind of a spunky little dude. You got LaFerriere and Dowd, ex-King Nick Dowd. Now, Schneider's a tough dude. So, a Drunken Donuts, I'm going to treat you like Kevin Brennan treats his people in chat. You want to troll me and ask your gay questions, you got to super chat them. That's my one time I'm going to talk to you. You ask all this gay shit, trolling. So super chats or you get nothing in here. I'm finally learning from Kevin Brennan. You want to say wacky stuff in my stream? You got to pay for the privilege, baby doll. Um, but the great thing about having Deontay Johnson was, you couldn't double team Pickens, but as of right now, uh, without a viable number two option, uh, you can double team Pickens. Now, I've heard rumors that was that receiver on the 49ers, it starts with an A, Azuku or uh, Ioki or something, that there's possible trade brewing with the 49ers and Steelers in that regard. But I don't know if that's going to work because he wants to be the number one guy. And, obviously Pickens is going to be the number one guy in Pittsburgh. So going from Frisco to Pittsburgh might not be much of a change in terms of no, it's not Steve Aoki. It's let me look up the guy's name. I don't even know how to look it up because I don't know the guy's name. 49ers receiver Izuku. I'm just going to type in Izuku. And of course, nothing is coming up on Google. Yes, that guy. Thank you, Queen. And Brandon Ayuk. So yeah, tough love, baby. Nothing personal, Drunken Donuts, but I've done an hour stream, and outside of J-Man Jack, I've answered all the free questions. I got to take a stand. Now, I'm certainly not doing streaming for money, but I don't know if I can do the streams much longer, making $5 a stream. I'm not begging for money. I don't need your money, but it's respect. Do they still pull their jerseys over their head and fight? Well, they don't really fight anymore, and now that the penalty is you get kicked out of the game. So I don't think that if your shirt comes off in a fight. So fighting's definitely on the way down. We got 4 more minutes, guys, before I have to go to yoga. So fighting's on in general down. I mean, of course, that's why the Rangers, Matt Rempe, has kind of been the talk of the town in New York because he's like fighting every game. Of course, he probably won't fight in playoffs. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing a Tom Wilson, Matt Rempe fight at some point, but I don't think I don't think the Capitals want to lose. That's be a trade-off. Matt Rempe, Tom Wilson's a very good player. So, well, I just think in the playoffs it always goes down. So, but back in the 80s and 90s, you had your fourth line was your goons. If you remember when the Kings traded for Wayne Gretzky, an essential part of the deal was the Kings also getting Marty McSorley. And then they went out and traded for Jay Miller. So that first Kings team with Gretzky, these are the tough guys that you had on the team. Now, and fighting was kind of down in the late 80s. But, the Kings basically surrounded Gretzky with monsters. Now, I realize I'm going to lose a few of you with throwing out some of these names. Happy birthday, Tony Atlas, yes. But the Kings, that first year with Gretzky, they had Jay Miller, Marty McSorley, Dean Kennedy, Jay Wells, Ken Baumgartner, and Larry Playfair, who was like the Probert before Probert. He was a defenseman. He was playing wing on the fourth line. And then, little by little, they got rid of some of those guys. Playfair was older, but, look up Larry Playfair. Some of his early fights was quite impressive. So, that shows you how at one point, I'm sure Gretzky was like, give me this guy who can score goals and surround me with gorillas, and I'll take it over from there, Chief. Even on the Stanley Cup team, you had who was it? You had Warren Reichel, McSorley. I mean, you had a bunch of tough dudes. Um, so, you got that right. Have a I don't know what that question was, Kip Smith. All right, we're at the 1 hour mark, so we'll go maybe 2 more minutes, 3 more minutes, because I've got to drive to yoga and I can't be late. They lock the door as soon as class opens or as soon as class starts. Drunken Donuts, do you not understand? You have to super chat me. You have to pay for the privilege to ask questions in here. If all you are going to do is for an hour ask a bunch of fucking gay questions, go to Ray DeVito's stream. I don't need this shit. So, and to my moderators, Gina and Kip, don't ban this kid. So, yes, Patreon, thank you very much. I'm kind of reevaluating how to do my Patreon. I do put up my longer Comedy Store sets on there. So I do think my Patreon is a pretty good value for what you pay. I do need to post on there more. I absolutely realize that. And, you can, I'll do a little bit of a, let me see what I can do here. While Gina's putting the links up, it's very easy to follow me everywhere. It's just at Earl Skakel. I'll leave you guys with this because I get this question a lot. How do we support you, Earl? And like I said, there's many ways other than financially to support me. Yes, the discount code, if you are going to be in Vegas at the end of May for Hackamania, 20% off you get. 20 off is Earl. Earl. No, it's not Earl. A discount code Earl. So yeah, I mean, a $10,000 super chat, there's not too much I wouldn't do. Of course, with YouTube, that would end up to be about 3,800. But hey, 3,800 is 3,800. No, I'm just kidding around. I'm just kidding. I don't do these streams to get rich. Not with 16 people in here. But you know what? I'm happy with the 16 people in here. Even with DD, I'm going to call you DD now. He's trolling and shit, but like, I don't care. It's we don't do the dabble in here. It's just not of interest to me. Now, a lot of people are like, I'll leave you guys with this. Earl, how can you not do the dabble, but you're doing Hackamania, which is basically a Dabbleverse event. I'm going for the comedy shows. Hey, speaking of PayPal, in case you guys just want to randomly send me money, my PayPal address is quite simply, I'm old school. I'm AOL, bitch. But, getting ways to where you don't have to financially contribute. There's hitting the like button. There's hitting the subscribe button. Yeah, but see, I don't, like if I wasn't going to yoga, I'd do another hour in here. But I don't, like I said, at some point you got to go on. So, you too, DD. I know you're not trolling that hard. I don't mind the trolls, I mean, Kevin Brennan's making a living off trolls, so I don't mind him. And truthfully, there's really nothing anyone's going to say to me on a YouTube stream that's going to be like, fuck you, man. I mean, I battled Jimmy Carr on international television. I survived, so I can survive Reddit comments or, trolling on the stream. But, you hit the like button, you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button. So when I do go live, you get the hold on, I'm going to tape the this Lightning Panther game. I have a feeling this could get wild. Message sending time. So, there's many, and I'd like to thank Kip for a lot of my thumbnail art. I'd also like to thank Jordan the Lion for a couple things. Jordan sent me this today. Uh, he sent me a Kamala card. Thank you very much. Kamala, the Ugandan giant. He also, now I don't have a DVD player, so I can't watch this, but he sent me a Best of Kenny Omega pay-per-view collection. Thank you very much. And maybe the best thing is an RJ City micro brawler. I mean, come on, get out of town, baby doll. Yes, and Jordan the Lion uh, has given me a lot of thumbnails. So there's that. That's how Kip and Jordan contribute to the stream. Hey, I'll make Earl a thumbnail. Because I realize that financially, it's an expensive world we live in. So I don't, what, and I know I'm late to the super chat game. There's, there's Shuley, Kevin, Melton, Chad, Steel Toe, and probably, Carl, and probably 4 or 5 other podcasts who are ahead of me. So, I'm late to the party. I'm like an 80s metal band trying to put out a record in 92 after Nirvana's album came out. So that's all, guys. I gotta go. I love you guys. Earl Skakel. Maybe we'll do a little stream tomorrow before Dynamite, or maybe during Dynamite. I think I finally figured out that I can do a live stream, but just turn the volume down. And I appreciate you guys. Earl Skakel over and out. The Earlverse. And check out my latest gift box opening. Another way you can help a streamer out is watch their videos. I just put out a gift box opening where I just showed you what I was given. I posted a couple clips from GCW Wrestling. You can like and share those, and that helps, and that costs you nothing. So I'm giving you guys all the options. Earl Skakel over now.